joining us now. Longtime NFL writer. Many people are familiar with his work from the Cowboys beat. He is John Owning of Pro Football Focus, joining us here on 105.3 The Fan. Good afternoon, sir. How the heck are you?
Doing well. Just after the Sam Williams news, very happy I don't live in Texas right now. Seems like I would be a wanted felon.
Yes, very hot.
Yeah, John's Cali proud.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. You know how those laws go. I appreciated Jerry's response to it, though. He seemed to kind of frame it properly and maybe let fans know this isn't something that we need to be losing any sleep over, is it, John?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. I mean, he treated it with the amount of respect that it really deserved. I think, the fact that he had what is reportedly be like a THC pen with less than a gram on him. I mean, I have more than that on me right now. So it's just such a weird thing that you can be in one state and get a felony charge or a misdemeanor or anything, and you could be in another state and they totally don't care.
Yeah, it is amazing. There's, two different Americas, I think, relative to that particular topic right now, and, how free an individual might feel in whatever state they might be. John, it's good to see you. Enjoying your freedoms to the fullest there in California. I would love to know from you, how much better could this team be than last year?
I think they have the makings to, go all the way, potentially. They have all the pieces that you need on offense and defense. The defense is stacked, especially on the edges, and in the secondary, the offense is stacked with weapons. I think Dak Prescott is underrated. I think he's a good enough quarterback to take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl if that's where they go. I think the only thing holding them back really is just injuries, and especially injuries on the offensive line. I think that's the spot, the lack of depth there. If injuries hit the offensive line, kind of like they have in previous seasons, that's the only thing I can see them really stopping or halting their ability to go deep in the playoffs.
How good do you think this offensive line can be? I know PFF wrote an article, the top 10 lines in the NFL. I think we talked with you last year about the PFF offensive line rankings for the Cowboys. What's your assessment of them going into the season?
Yeah, I think Sam did a really good job of putting the Cowboys where they deserve to be. I think when you talk about strictly starting fives, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a team that is more talented than the Cowboys outside of probably the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, to be able to go five across with Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele, I think that's fantastic. But like I said before, the problem is the lack of depth. If Tyron Smith gets hurt again and it causes the Cowboys to go into a musical chairs, moving Tyler Smith over to left tackle, who knows who's going to play left guard? Is it Farniok? Is it Hoffman? Is it Josh Ball? Is it even TJ Bass? And the problem is I don't think any of them are really regular season starting quality offensive linemen as it stands right now. And as we know, the offensive line is kind of as strong as its weakest link, and that's a pretty weak link that could be put into the Cowboys offensive line. So I think he kind of adequately prepared for both the high end and the low end spots that the offensive line can play this year.
How about on the defensive line there? Adding Mazi Smith, Hankins for a full year, Osa coming into year 3. What's the opportunity for being better on that side of the line of scrimmage this year?
Yeah, I think that they can be a lot stronger and a lot more interior sound. I think even you can even include Quinton Bohanna. I think he's looked a little bit improved this preseason. Who knows if he's going to end up making the 53, but if he does, I think he'll even provide better contributions up front. And just the overall on the edges, I think just the progression of Micah Parsons is going to take his game to another level. I honestly think he has an opportunity to vie for 20-plus sacks this season, especially if he gets the interior play that we're hoping from Jonathan Hankins and Mazi Smith, their ability to create interior disruption and ease some of the pain that he has on the outside. But I really think, like I said, when the interior, like I've said for many years, when the interior defensive line becomes more solid, you get more consistent play out of them. It's just it might not lead to more production from interior defensive linemen, but it's going to allow everybody else around them, whether it's the linebackers, the edge defenders, the nickel safety rotating down, whatever has it be. They're all going to be more productive. They're all going to find themselves in positions to better make impact plays. And I think that's where the Cowboys can improve most on the defensive front.
John, where are you on the changing of the offensive coordinator? Are you the good riddance Kellen Moore guy, or are you, well, let's wait and let's see what Mike McCarthy can do as a primary play caller?
It's interesting because I kind of see it from both views. I think from a play design point of view, I really like the way that McCarthy and Schottenheimer are going. I think using more routes on the move, not as many curls, comebacks where your receivers are stopping, putting them in positions where they can create yards after the catch more often and have a more in-depth play action drop back passing game. I think we'll all be very productive, especially with Dak Prescott at quarterback. I think those are going to be very wise changes. But where I'm a little bit worried is like the play sequencing of part of it. You know, Mike McCarthy hasn't called plays in a pretty long time, so I'm a little bit worried about his ability to sequence play calls in the second, third quarter to keep the momentum going, to keep their foot on the gas, those type of things. So I kind of been looking at it with both sides of my brain. I see the positives from it from a play design point of view, but I also worry a little bit from a play sequencing and just strictly pure play calling perspective.
John Owning, Pro Football Focus, with us here in the GBag Nation. The Mazi Smith stuff, that's, you know, with the way he's playing right now, do you expect that to get better as the season goes on?
It's your guy, John.
Finally we get to get into the nitty-gritty technique stuff.
Yeah.
Well, as anybody who's followed me on Twitter or X or whatever the heck it's called these days knows, I was a giant fan of the Mazi Smith pick when he was made in the first round. I thought that he could solidify the interior run defense especially, and that would allow the linebackers to make more plays, allow the edge defenders to make more plays, and all you have it. But what we're noticing here is we're going to have to table that, I think, a little bit as he gets accustomed to the NFL game. I think his lacking experience in changing schemes, I know Brian has talked about it multiple times, going from a read-react scheme at Michigan to a more aggressive scheme with the Cowboys, and how that changes the way he reads blocks, the way he anticipates blocks, where he puts his hands, you know, all these type of things. They kind of have created a cascading effect that's causing him to have a lot of issues. We know that his biggest strength is his play strength. We've seen all the feats of strength that he's had in the gym at Michigan, you know, where he was torquing 800 pounds. But one thing you notice when he's doing all these feats of strength in the gym is his feet are rooted in the ground. And his problem is right now he's not being able to get his feet rooted in the ground at the point of contact. And that's because his feet are either too slow, he's not covering enough distance with his footsteps, he's not reading the blocks quickly enough, so he's not able to position his body in a way where he can create leverage and play with strength. So that's why you're seeing him being able to get moved. And you see fans asking, like, Mazi Smith, he's supposed to be so strong, so this, so that. How is he getting moved off his spot? Well, it's because he's getting contacted when he has one foot in the air. He's not getting contacted where he has both feet rooted in the ground, and he can really be as strong as possible and really express that strength that we all know is special. You see it on a couple snaps we've seen it a couple snaps in the first 2 weeks where he's rooted, he creates insane knockback, and you can see him shuck blockers when he's latched on and engaged. You still see the flashes of all the things that made him such a high value pick, but he's just missing that experience to get the things. I think he really needs things to slow down for him so that he can, you know, just be more consistent with his footwork and more consistent with his body positioning.
John, how's Kelvin Joseph coming along for you?
Man, I'm impressed. I kind of wrote Kelvin Joseph off coming into this season. I was kind of more of a Nashawn Wright fan, as someone who's displayed a little bit more talent, I would say, as a cornerback. But I think the move inside to Kelvin Joseph has been so beneficial for him, especially because it's the way Dan Quinn's using him. He's allowing him to play a lot more off coverage. And I think what we saw at Kelvin Joseph, even dating back to when he was at Kentucky, I mean, you look at that Alabama game against Devonta Smith. Both of his pass breakups came on plays where he was playing off coverage. You know, he doesn't get beat at the line. He gets to be patient and allow his athletic gifts to take over, because he's not immediately putting himself in a bad position with poor press footwork, poor press hand technique, poor anticipation, all of those things. So I think allowing him to slow down a little bit, play a little bit more calm, a little patient from off has been really beneficial for him. And you've seen, I think he's had two of his better coverage games that he's had as a Cowboy these last two preseason games.
We're talking with the Beast, John Owning, Pro Football Focus, with us here in the GBag Nation. John, I've kind of looked at Osa Odighizuwa as my breakout star for this year. Do you have a player that you think is going to take that next step?
Oh, baby. I mean, we're simpatico on 0097.
Let's go.
That's my guy. I'm very excited. I mean, Brandon Thorne posted a fantastic gift just to show the development that he's shown since he's come into the NFL. I mean, his ability at what do we think he is? maybe 290 pounds, the ability to anchor strongly against a double team and then shed and still help make a play is super impressive. And it's something that he could not do his first couple of years in the NFL, his first couple of years with the Cowboys. And now that he's doing that, even if it's in a preseason game, still really impressive. And we know that he has the hand technique. We know he can play with leverage. We know he can rush the passer. It's just, can he become more consistent taking on those double teams that you see inside on occasion? And I think he is. I think you're going to see him continue his pass rush production, but then add a little bit more backfield production as a run defender and all around more consistently gap integral player.
Should Cowboys fans be nervous about the potential of Jonathan Taylor going to the Eagles?
Man, no. I mean, when you is it worrisome because he's a great player? Yes, he's a great player. But do I think he's going to provide that much more than, a committee of D'Angelo Swift? Was it D'Angelo Swift? Swift? DeAndre Swift? DeAndre Swift. Okay, my bad. DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell, and even Penny from the Seahawks. I think that's a pretty good trio already. And then if they get Jonathan Taylor, I mean, is it going to make them better? Yes. Is it, how much better can it really make them? Is it going to change the way you defend the Eagles? No. Is Dan Quinn going to be like, oh, now I need to put 9 in the box instead of 8 in the box? No. So I don't think from like a scheme perspective, it doesn't change much. So I wouldn't really be worried. And honestly, I'd be a little bit happy because if you're going to be trading for Jonathan Taylor, you're probably going to be extending Jonathan Taylor. And that just means it's going to make it harder for the Eagles to put together a well-rounded team where they're allocating the money to the more important positions.
John Owning, Pro Football Focus, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the upcoming season. We'll try to catch up with you real soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys having me on. Have a great week.